Yes, welcome everyone. It is time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, that means it's Wednesday at noon Eastern Time if you were watching live. If you're watching later, then I have no idea what time it is. I just know what time it is right now when we're live. The High Noon Hemp Show. It's every Wednesday for almost 7 years now, in case you were just joining us or just catching up. We can be seen in many, many places, of course. You want to go to Facebook, it's the Temptations Beach Facebook page. If you want better quality video, of course, is YouTube. The Jedi Hemp YouTube channel. Also check out @Temptations on X. I'm Stoner Jesus. I do various things on the interwebs that you can search out if you so choose. He is Beach. You can see he is in a great location. Of course, the new location where you find Temptations, 600 Township Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio. So get there or be square or whatever it is they used to say back in the day. I'm showing my age. I will move on. He is Beach. He loves hemp. Beach, how are things this week in the world of Temptations?
They're good. The lighting isn't the best. I apologize. You're not going to get that full beach look. But we are celebrating Hemp History Week this week. We are at the new location, as you can see. I've been talking about it, and it's finally here. That's right. We're broadcasting in front of hemp plants. This is the Hemp Deity Garden, part of the Deity Garden for Hemp History Week. It's only fitting one way or another. Stoner, do you know what else today is?
Oh, hold on. Oh, nope, I almost had it, but now it's gone. What day is it, Beach?
Hemp Day. That's right. It's the High Noon Hemp Show, and that makes it Hemp Day here at where it's a triple location. So you got Deity Gardens, you've got the Flower Factory, and you've got Hemptations. Right. I mean, it's a trifecta, if I have ever heard of a trifecta in the history of trifectas. I had to say it 3 times, or my brain would be like, come on.
Sure.
No. And just to remind everyone, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy, or lighting, or audio, or any of that. This is a bare bones production here, folks. After 300 episodes, we're not going to get fancy. Okay. Now, actually, the original ones, and I have to bring back I had a microphone and the headsets, and we really looked like we were doing something. Nothing's changed. We're still doing the same thing. We just maybe don't look like we're supposed to be
we're doing something.
Something anyway. All right. Before we go any further, let's put those peace signs to our hemp hearts and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. So I mentioned we're, a unique studio. That's the beautiful thing about the High Noon Hemp Show. We can broadcast from anywhere if we so desire. It can happen. And so today, here we are in the gardens. I did do some, here's a pic of the entire studio, kind of how it's set up for today. As you can see, the hemp plants, and yes, those are hemp plants. Industrial hemp, registered in the state of Ohio. This is a registered hemp farm. One of only a few handfuls of indoor hemp farms. And to my understanding, the largest in Ohio. But I've got the table with the hemp leaves. You can see my hemp coffee cup. And because I just wasn't high enough, which, it could be like the quote about my life, he just wasn't high enough. You can see in this next pic how I raised the table using, what did I use? Well, of course, I used hemp. These are the hemp boxes that I make, and they're all basically the same dimensions as far as, I want to say probably width. And so they can be made, to be stacked. And then I've got some other ones, which I'm going to do this week. Next week, I'm going to have a whole display made of these boxes coming here to the High Noon Hemp Show. So get back for episode 304. I was a little disappointed we didn't do last week's show, only because, as some of you may know, I'm a numbers person. And if we would have done it last week, we would have done season 26, episode 3, making 303 total episodes on 6/3/25. It's all right. It's all right. Today's episode is going to be crazy. I'm going to end the episode with some hemp history, going all the way back. I don't know how far you know how far hemp history goes, but I know when it started. So watch the show. It's coming. All right. Well, let's get on to the product spotlight. As I say, 4 from the store, 1 from my door. And again, this week, all of these products can be found on eBay. Okay. I'm pretty sure I have most of the hemp company shirts listed. I know I might need to get some handful of these colors still on there. But you've got, so the bottom row are the long sleeves, and then the top row are the short sleeves. And I have mostly mediums. So if you're a medium men's size, I have all the hemp shirts that you'll ever need. But I do have some larges. I got some extra larges. I don't have any smalls. I don't think they ever made a men's small in any of their clothing, to my knowledge. I think it was just medium, large, and extra large. And for the record, I bought out their inventory. Here's some history about 15, 20 years ago. And I am still sitting on a lot of hemp company shirts. And these are great shirts. I use the long sleeve as kind of just like a cool night, cool day shirt over a t-shirt, and they're great. They're thick. I can tell you, and I don't know how many times I've worn my black one or my green one, which is a lot. They show nowhere. So super durable, well worth the sale price. I think they're like below wholesale. If I'm correct now, I've listed them all the way down to below wholesale. So check us out at ERB Son of Ma. ERBSON. It's down there. It's scrolling on the screen. It's going by right now as I speak. ERBSONOFMA. Herb Son of Ma. So the next one, the hemp straws. Man, if I could replace every plastic straw in the world with a hemp straw, the world would change forever. We can start with this 100-piece box. Again, listed them low dollar, super cheap. I'm going to guess, I think I've got them almost at least 30% off original price on eBay. And you can come in here and get that eBay price. You can come to Hemptations and get that eBay price all day long. You can even pay for it on eBay and pick it up here, because that's an option if you want to do that. You can do a little eBay ordering locally and then just come pick it up. Pay no shipping. Have it all ready for you. Even though you're going to wander around a little bit because we have a lot of stuff out. All right. And then we have the Sana packaging containers. And on eBay, I have these 10 for 10. So that's $1 a piece. That is literally the case price at Sana Packaging's website, but you have to buy 1,000 to get that price. $1 a piece. I have seen dispensaries or cannabis sellers use these. It holds about 3.5 grams. It locks, the lid slides, and it's a pinching lock. So you actually have to pinch the sides just a little. Just give them a little pinchy pinch, and it opens right up. I wouldn't say that they're airproof, but I carry my cannabis around in these, and I don't really notice a smell. And so I'm not going to say they're airproof, but I do think they do a pretty good job of keeping the smell down. Again, that's relative to your cannabis. It's not a challenge. So, and again, you can put anything in a bag. Put your change in there. I've been, keep your pills if you got to take pills or vitamins or whatever. Anything you want. I'm not saying you have to put flour in it, because you can put whatever fits in there that you want anytime you want, and they are biodegradable. So when you're done with it, you can just chuck it out in the yard if you want. Eventually, it'll break down, um, and throw it in the. I don't know that they're compostable, so that's a whole different thing. The hemp straws are in fact compostable. So the hemp straw we just showed will break down in under 90 days if you throw it in your compost pile. Gone. Back to nature as it came. And then the last one from the store are the Wicked Boots. So I think I've got the 8.5, 9, and 9.5s listed on eBay. We have more sizes here. I just need to get to some more listings. Um, but I will say I have worn out a pair of these. But that being said, that's been, 10 years of taking them out into nature and using them as hiking boots. And I can tell you, I've worn them out, but I can still wear them. And I'll eventually, on the next segment, you'll probably see eventually my worn out pair. I think you've seen them before, but um, not today. Not today. All right, there you have it. 4 from the store. Now the one from my door, since it is Hemp History Week. How about a little beach hemp history for the history books? For the history books, this is my very first hemp purchase ever in my life. We were at Kings Island. It was 1990, possibly 1989. I don't remember. We'll call it 1990 so we can do the math, which is easy. 35 years ago. Um, this bag was on the back shelf of the leather store, and my mother made me. If I have any OCDs, I will admit that one of my OCDs is if I go into a store, I have to walk down every aisle. I don't feel like I've gotten as much out of it, and I don't do that every time. Like I don't go into Walmart if I do shopping in Walmart. Not that I go to Walmart a lot. I'm just saying, and have to walk down every aisle before I buy my shit. But I do like, especially a new store. It's a place I've never been in. But even the grocery store, I am even when I go to the grocery store for 4 items, my brain says you should go down every aisle. You got to see if there's anything on any aisle that you need. So anyway, I walk down every aisle. And I'm almost, again, I guess just because that's my pattern, but I was almost drawn to it. I get to the back wall, and there's like 2 or 3 racks of these hemp bags hanging on the wall. And again, I had not done. There was nothing that I had ever done in my past that drew me to hemp. We knew about ditchweed in Kentucky. We knew about the history of hemp, kind of, in Kentucky. If it was 1990, then I was already at Heidelberg, so maybe I had done a speech, but I'm not sure if I was even, I don't remember. But anyway, there it is, my very first hemp purchase, which is now part of the largest collection of personal hemp goods on the planet. That's a record I have set. I am willing for anyone to challenge. This was literally the first hemp product to start my world record setting um, largest collection of hemp goods by any one person on the planet. Okay. I'm sure a rich person could come along and easily beat me. I don't know if their collection would be as diverse as mine of all the things I have collected. Like, I don't think they'd have to pay to have someone make them a hemp coffee mug. These bags probably still exist. Whoever made these bags 35 years ago is probably still making these bags.
There you go.
I can only hope I can only hope. Although we never sold them in the store. Maybe we sold bags like them, but not this exact stamped with hemp on the outside bag. So, there you have it for Hemp History Week. Beach's very first hemp purchase ever in his life. I was just a boy, a measly little boy at the age of 20. I knew very little about hemp at the time. I knew I loved it somehow, somewhere.
That's right. You see right there, Beach loves hemp.
I do. I really
It's on
do.
the screen. The internet does not lie. So that brings us, of course, to the beachwear segment. We talk about, and Beach just alluded to it, one of the hemp records that he has set and currently holds. You may be wondering, well, is that officially recognized by, say, I don't know, a world organization of such? No, it's not. We chronicle every week the Guinness World Records does not care about hemp or Beach's hemp records. They have no interest. They will not respond to tweets or emails or anything. So every week, it's kind of new part of this segment. I go to their X account to see what they're talking about, because what they got going on is very important. They don't have time for hemp or saving the planet or any of that kind of stuff. They're doing very important work. Their pinned post is Tom Cruise actually
I saw
now
that.
holds the record for the most times jumping out of a plane with a burning parachute.
17.
He's done that 16 times.
16. I
So,
guess the 17th time didn't count for some
that's
reason.
right. Good for him. But there was something else that I found just as intriguing on the Guinness website. You actually see this video. This is just a screenshot. This is a guy. Most coconuts on heads smashed with a nunchuck in 1 minute. 42 by that guy from India. So you can actually see that video on their X account. They're in a circle and they're putting coconuts on their head, and he's turning and hitting the coconuts with a nunchuck and breaking them open. And he just keeps doing that. And he does it 42 times in a minute. And that is a world record.
And it's also broken the world record for trust.
Yes. I don't know what these guys did. They have to do this. I don't know why they're being punished. He is going to knock you out.
The serious trust right there, folks. That's a circle of trust like no other.
So you're going to go see the video. The screenshot's cool, but it really doesn't do the video justice of just him continuously turning and hitting these grown men with coconuts on their heads with a nunchuck. That's what Guinness World Records got going on, because they have plenty of time because they don't worry about hemp or Beach's hemp records, so they have time for all this other stuff.
There's no love.
Good for them. Good for that guy. But we're here, and we're talking about these records, and we will continue to chronicle these records. The clothing portions, of course, we chronicle in the Beachwear segment when I ask Beach one simple question, and he gives me an answer, both audio-wise and visually as well. When I ask, what are you wearing, Beach?
That's right. If you're curious, it's Hemp History Week, Beach. What are you wearing? Well, now you will know. On the lid there, that is a classic vintage. I can call it vintage. 20 years old. We found it out. It's vintage. That's a vintage headcase Do hemp hat. Now, the history there is that is a reference to DuPont, which came up with the very first synthetic fiber in 1937. Ironically, the same year that hemp fiber was made illegal in America to grow.
Quite ironic.
Quite ironic indeed. And then my t-shirt there, I believe, is Young Maven Hemp History Week t-shirt. It's actually from Hemp History Week 2016, 9 years ago, June 6th through the 12th. That's why I picked this week to be Pseudo Hemp History Week. I've actually seen some other hempsters declaring June as Hemp History Month. And so take it all in. And, you know, the first week of June or the first full week of June or first couple weeks of June makes sense because that's normally when most farmers are actually getting their hemp in the fields, unless they're maybe a little bit more south of here. But anybody here or north that's growing, probably even Kentucky, doesn't go into the ground until the beginning of June. So there you have it. My shorts are Anthony Pezza shorts. No hemp history there, but they are very rare. Considered designer hemp shorts, for the record.
Nice.
My Green Springs Technology pen, of course, hanging in my pocket. Um, my I Love Bad shorts. And I apologize. I don't know why all of a sudden PhotoGrid is editing my things differently in the thing, making everything want to be small. So I got to figure that out. I will. But anyway, you can barely see them to begin with because I've got natural on natural on natural. But I Love Bad briefs, and then a pair of my Oasis no shows. And then those are a pair of Adidas Dakotas. Also, one of the rarer hemp Adidas that are out there. They make a lot of sambas. They do a lot of shell toes, but the Dakotas they haven't made a whole lot of those in hemp. Or this may be the only Dakotas, and they made them only in hemp. I don't know the history. I just know they're hemp, and I wear them, and I like them, and it makes me feel good. So if you were curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you know. You're on the High Noon Hemp Show. All right, well, we're going to check out, I don't know, I just randomly picked one of my old movie trailers. Hopefully it's an epic tale of travel and whatnot. I don't know. Let's check it out. Trailer for a Temptations movie that hasn't been made yet.
Music wise, it's definitely one of the best.
Seriously epic. I could not dance to that, by the way. And of course, we are down to one location. This was probably made a while back, but you get the gist. We still have the largest selection of hemp on the planet. Uh, and that's the truth right there. All right, let's get to some news, and then we'll get to some hemp history. So, a study has found that CBD and CBDV um, topicals both have the ability to kill the fungus that causes cryptococcus and cryptococcal meningitis. Meningitis. And that's huge. Meningitis kills people. Um, and it's also effective at eradicating the fungal pathogens responsible for such conditions as jock itch and athlete's foot. I mean, how big is this? I mean, for some reason, they've never figured out. I mean, I guess you got all the sprays and stuff that take care of it. I don't know. So I guess that really kills it. Um, but athlete's foot and jock itch is still a thing. And the most interesting part of this is I will have to say about, I don't know, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, I decided to take some of our CBD scrub home, and I was using it on my feet. And I do think that it really does and did help with athlete's foot. And that's just me, you know. This study proves it. Okay, now they figured this out originally in a petri dish. Okay, then they used moths. All right, so this is, I don't know how I feel about this because I don't really, it's cruel in a sense. But what they did was they take these moths and they give them little micro burns.
Wow.
And then as a test, they either do nothing, they used the medicines that are most common to fight meningitis and cryptococcus. And then they also used a solution of CBD and CBV. And they found that the CBDV was a little stronger, I think. And what's interesting is supposedly CBDV is also euphoric, whereas CBD obviously is not non-intoxicating, as they say. Not that there's used as a topical, that it's a mood issue. None of it gets into your bloodstream when you use it as a topical, so it doesn't matter whether it's intoxicating or not. Just like you wouldn't get high from using a cream that has THC in it, and you wouldn't fail the drug test. But anyway, and what they found is that the CBD was actually more effective than the current medications, or one of the current medications used for this. And so again, this is I think, as far as obviously on the meningitis thing, um, it's quite brilliant. But on the other side, the athlete's foot and the jock itch part of it, we have CBD and hemp oil that you can use as a topical and rub anywhere. Like I said, I think that hemp scrub really works well on my feet. It feels good. The scrub goes in. I can feel the oil. And so I kind of leave it on there and then wash it off a little bit. But I know that it's getting absorbed and on the surface too. And so there's many ways to check for yourself if you have any of these issues. Albuquerque has banned synthetic cannabinoids exceeding 0.3% THC. I don't even know what that means. Okay, because most of the synthetic cannabinoids, so Delta 8, HHC, Delta 10, any of the synthetic cannabinoids wouldn't have any THC. They would be zero THC. They're 100% whatever they are when you make them synthetic. There's no THC in them anyway. So I don't know. I don't know. I think Albuquerque, once again, it's like they heard that buzz. 0.3% is what legally is supposed to be in there. And again, that's 0.3% dry weight on the flower, on the plant, while it's still alive, because that's when they test, say in the state of Ohio. So these plants, roughly 2 weeks before harvest, okay, the state comes in and they test them. All right? When it comes up less than 0.3%, you're good to go. Now, if it comes up more than 3%, say it comes up 0.4%, 0.5%, you do have a retest. The federal law is up to 0.9%. You have a retest. Some states vary, okay? But you then can have, I believe, a retest to see if that somehow comes down after a couple weeks of maturing or whatnot. Unfortunately, that's not normally the case, I don't think. Get over 0.4%, and they just destroy it. It's not criminal or anything like that. So anyway, Texas governor, man, I have not heard, and I hadn't heard he signed it, so I don't think he has yet. But of course, he signs this bill in Texas that they pushed through. The hemp industry in Texas is done. 9,000 shops getting closed. Probably won't farm down there anymore. I mean, there's just so many products that are affected by this. It's insane. I mean, I believe if I heard right, it's over $1 billion industry in the state of Texas that they want to shut down. Shut it down. They got 120,000 signatures. 120,000 signatures saying, please don't do this. Don't sign this. All right. Now, what's interesting is really this is becoming this battle of governor versus attorney general. This is the same thing we saw in Missouri. Okay. And the governor stood up to the attorney general and said, "No, this is ridiculous. You are acting ridiculous." Now, I don't know what's going to happen in Texas because the attorney general down there is implying that a bag of THC gummies is harmful to adults. He comes out and says, "Yeah, they're harmful to kids." And he says, "Oh, they're harmful to adults." And the person he asked, "Those are harmful to adults?" He said, "Yeah, would you eat this whole bag of these?" Which, of course, started the joke of a million stoners saying, "Yeah, I'll take that bag of THC gummies. They haven't killed anybody yet, and they're not going to kill me." Anyway, and so we're still waiting there. He signs this, man. The governor he's going to be in trouble. He's really going to be in trouble. And I do think that, again, it's also going to be almost immediately challenged in the courts because of what they're doing. Now, I just turned my phone on Do Not Disturb, and it rang anyway. Come on.
Disturbed.
So anyway, let's see what else we got here. And also the attorney general sent out a letter to, I don't know, so many places that the THCA flower that they were selling was also illegal. That is not true. Okay, THCA flower is 100% legal, defined by the industrial hemp laws, and unless the state of Texas, and of course that's really what they're going to do. This bill will pretty much do that anyway. Maybe, I don't know. It might be the loophole in this bill, but THCA is industrial hemp, and if industrial hemp is legal in the state of Texas, THCA flower is legal in the state of Texas. Period. And right now, I believe, as of today, hemp is still legal in the state of Texas. So this attorney general in Texas is obviously super ignorant. He's obviously looking for maybe some type of job security. He's probably in the pockets of the marijuana industry, which ironically they're doing beneficial changes to the medical marijuana laws there, I believe. It's funny how that works out. And so hopefully the governor does the right thing and doesn't sign it, makes the attorney general go back to square one, or just leave it alone until adults in Texas really do think that this is an issue. It is. It's true. No doubt about it. Garden of Eden, Sea of Green. I love it. So it's a terrible place what they're trying to do in Texas. Just like a lot of these states, just don't. It's just ignorance. It's really just ignorance. How about Article 10? Coastal furniture and decor deals that add some summery charm to any room. This is the Breakwater Bay Leonine. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Rustic hemp rope wagon wheel chandelier.
Nice.
So, hey, if you need a chandelier, and I know some of you do, I know some of you are out there actively shopping for chandeliers now. Why not get a hemp chandelier? It also brings me to the point that you could probably make your own hemp chandelier. If you want, this could just be a framework, possibly. Now, a true hemp chandelier would not only just have the hemp on the bottom, but, the going down, like those would be hemp ropes holding that on there, one way. So, but because we want everything in the world to exist made out of hemp, here's a hemp chandelier. Do with that what you will, folks. Do with that what you will. Article, How to Create a Sustainable Summer Wardrobe. And I quote, hemp. So there's five things in this, five things on this, okay? Hemp is known for its resilience and low environmental impact, all right? Now, also on the list, organic cotton. Yes, organic cotton is great. You embrace organic cotton. Even though it still takes a lot of water to make it into material, at least it's not using all the chemicals, which is terrible. And then you have linen, which is made out of flax. So it's really flax. Also, a good option for material because it doesn't take a lot of chemicals and doesn't take a lot of water. Flax is like hemp in the sense that when flax grows, through continuously throughout the plant to make long fibers. And then you had hemp, which is probably the most environmentally friendly option out of all of them. And then number 4 is tencel or lyocell, which is sustainably harvested wood pulp. I get it. You got a tree farm, so you're selling that's the only way to call wood pulp sustainable is because these trees were grown to be sold and cut down. It's not old growth or whatever. And to that I say, no tree needs to be cut down to make anything anymore. Just nothing. Not paper, and certainly not clothing. That is again. I don't care if it's sustainable. I don't care if it was bought from a hemp farm. It is just a ridiculous waste of soil. You grow a tree, it probably has to grow for 20 years to get enough wood pulp out of it to make this material to begin with. So you've really just grown a woods, grown a forest to cut it down. We just need to continue to grow forests and not cut them down and replenish the world with all of the trees that we have cut down. And then the last one is recycled synthetic material. To that I say, yes, I love recycling, but guess what you're just doing? You're continuing to add to the nanoplastic problem that our entire planet has. We found nanoplastics in the deepest part of the ocean. We found nanoplastics on the highest parts of the mountains. We found nanoplastic in our blood. Okay? This comes from the fact that synthetic clothing is between cotton and synthetic clothing. They're the two majority purchased clothing options out there. And so even if, let's say, to be fair on a low number, synthetic clothing, 40% of the clothing that's purchased is synthetic. The nanoplastics are distributed when you wash, when you dry. Okay? They go out into the water supply. They go out into the air system, airflow. And then they get moved around everywhere. We breathe them in, we drink them, and then they end up in our blood. Okay? And so I got 2 words. Stop plastic. Because that's what the synthetic clothing is, plastic clothing. Okay? For all of you that got rich on plastic, do the right thing and switch over to hemp where you can. Because we can do 60 to 70%. Anyway. All right. Placebo-controlled trials showed an orally taken CBD meant to target inflammatory pathways in myocarditis and pericarditis was shown to be safe as the placebo and not elevating any cardiovascular risk. So they didn't say whether the CBD was successful at targeting the inflammation of myocarditis and pericarditis, but they did say that it's at least as safe to take as the placebo. Now we know that CBD is heart friendly in a sense that of its calming aspects, its ability to, and these were studies that I have reported on, lower blood pressure. That's why, if anything, you need to be careful. If you're on blood pressure medicine, be careful of your CBD dosage. That's one thing that can take your blood pressure too low. We know that. And so, uh, I think that, again, I would like to know whether the CBD actually did, in fact, help with the inflammation of the myocarditis and the pericarditis as well. But this just backs up the fact that, uh, again, CBD is safe. The FDA is doing no one a favor by deciding it's not safe. Okay? Um, my sign made a smiley face while I wasn't looking. Oh, gravity, gravity.
Yeah.
Anyway, Southeast Missouri State University is teaming up with a startup, Saluna, to grow hemp, and they're going to grow hemp. This is interesting. This is what it said: grow hemp for crops, livestock, and oil. And I don't understand the crops part, but what they're really going to do is they want to extract the oil to use as fuel, and then they take the seed cake. So to get that oil, you put a big thing of seed in this big press, and you press it down, and you press out the oil of all the seeds. And what's left over is called seed cake. All right, and this is what farmers want to be able to feed their cows. We cannot do that right now. The only livestock that you can legally feed hemp to and then take their products to market is laying hens. So if you have egg laying hens, you can feed them hemp and then you can sell those eggs. You cannot feed any other livestock, including fish, in the United States hemp in any form and then sell that livestock. At home, if you want to do it, you can do it all you want to for your own personal livestock and whatnot. Now, the seed cake is the part that we've seen studies on. Now, we have not, and I hope that that's all part of what they're doing with this seed cake, is that the university will study the effects of that seed cake on livestock, hopefully all the livestocks, and then take that to the FDA, which then has a division that actually approves livestock feed. Okay, and that's what we need done there. And so this, hopefully, that's what this leads to, uh, one way or another. And then I'm not sure what the crops is, other than if it's just for crop rotation, just to show how hemp can be beneficial in crop rotation. Because it can be beneficial in crop rotation. You do not want to rotate it with, say, soy, because soy is also a nitrogen depleter. All right, so maybe you want to rotate it with corn or something else that offsets that. If there's one thing that hemp really does enjoy, it's nitrogen to make it a healthier plant. And again, we get the nitrogen. Most nitrogen fertilizer comes from natural. That's why it smells like it smells, because that's what it is. um, so anyway, this is going to be interesting. There are universities all over the place doing um, hemp studies and collaborating with hemp companies. Um, and so, this is just another one. All right, the last thing I'm going to show you before I get on with my hemp history and get everybody on their day is a pair of Hoka shoes. Now, this is a whole line of, you can't really see them too closely there, but this is a whole line of, and I don't know if they do men's, but it's ladies' footwear, and it's very environmentally friendly. And their uppers on the shoe are supposed to be made out of hemp. And so I'd really like to look at a pair up close to see, but they are supposed to be very environmentally friendly in using hemp in the uppers in the shoe. And again, that's Hoka. Hoka is the name of that company. I will go ahead and there's a couple events we'll do real quick. July 9th through the 11th. Oh no, I don't even think that's going on. July 25th to the 27th, you got the Stargazers Cannabis Festival, which I will be speaking at. I will also be doing a paper making workshop, hopefully. And then there is also a hempcrete workshop that's going to happen at the Stargazers Cannabis Festival right here in Waverly, Ohio. Um, and of course, Waverly, Ohio is going through some renovations right now that are the super coolest that I have ever seen. They just recently, I saw a picture posted of an outdoor, it's just a little outdoor stadium, not real big, but it's in the shape of a guitar. And it's like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And this is like business is, it's just so awesome. It's so awesome, you know. And I might be a little biased because one of my college buddies might have something to do with the fact that Waverly, Ohio is becoming really cool right now. But they're doing it on their own. It had nothing to do with me. I can tell you that. So anyway, and then October 3rd through the 5th, you've got the Hemp Building Symposium at the Lower Sioux Indian Community in Minnesota. Um, and so once again, this is a symposium, a hemp building symposium from individuals that are doing all of it. They're growing it, they're processing it, they're building with it. Um, and so they have, from seed to wall, all the knowledge that you may need if you want to get into building with hempcrete. And you want to farm it, and you want to build with it after you farm it, or, any of those things. Or you want to process it. Either way. Okay. All right. Well, let's get into a little bit of hemp history. And there is so much. And trust me, I'm going to send you down some paths, and then you can take those paths and you can learn so much more about hemp history and all the things that it has done in its history. You may ask, when did hemp start? Well, it was 28 million years ago on the Tibetan Plateau. So the geniuses of the world, they figured it out, and and I believe them. I do, because it all fits in. It fits into how resilient cannabis is. So this plant was literally born at 10,000 feet altitude. All right, so that probably made it have to struggle to begin with, and why it's so resilient to this day. And of course, we have found 3 cultivars, species of cannabis, or subspecies. Again, cannabis sativa, cannabis indica, and cannabis ruderalis. All right. Now, 9,000 years ago is the oldest piece of hemp fabric that we have found. All right, this piece of hemp fabric was found in the Fertile Crescent area. The Fertile Crescent area of the planet was one of the places where agrarian communities began to thrive. We were becoming less nomad, less moving hunters and gatherers, and we were becoming farmers. There's some argument, even from the genius Carl Sagan, who said hemp was one of the first agriculturally grown crops in all of the world. All right? Showing at least a 9,000 year history on the fabric that was being made. 5 to 6,000 years ago, so it came down off of that plateau eventually, and made its way into the Fertile Crescent, and then made its way basically, I think, into India and China, where 5 to 6,000 years ago, in both India and China, it was a sacred grain, a highly used hemp food product, which is, to me, interesting how it's not still that, because the nutritional value is unbelievable. And again, because I think they knew they could produce a lot, and everybody was figuring out how to use it for the fiber and use it for the seed. Okay. 2,000 years ago, when the Chinese invented the paper making process, they were using hemp. And for almost 2,000 years, the majority of paper became hemp paper, all the way to the original Gutenberg Bibles, the first printing presses in the world were using hemp paper. The drafts of the Declaration of Independence, drafts, hemp paper. Again, most paper was hemp paper. So, we didn't start making paper out of trees until not even 150 years ago, probably, roughly. And all because in the long run, hemp was hard to process. A lot of these products came along that were completely inferior to hemp, but easier to make, so they won out. With modern technology, man, we can rival anything. 1,500 years ago, hempcretes found in caves protecting art. 600-year-old hempcrete bridge found in France, still standing. Hemp made sea voyages possible. The long sea voyages, because sails, riggings, clothing, all that's made out of hemp and super durable. Okay, there was even a rumor that so Blackbeard, to be intimidating, he would put little strands of hemp in his beard and light them on fire, so they would smoke in his beard. This is supposed to be a part of history. I don't know if it's true or not true,
Cool.
but it is, and I have found, that this is some part of some documented history. The oldest hemp house is 300 years old, but it's not hempcrete. It's actually hemp stalks. Still looks like it was built yesterday in Japan. And basically, and I showed this on the show, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago. But they took just multiple hemp stalks, bound them together, made the walls, multiple hemp stalks, bound them together, used hemp rope to tie that all together to build this structure that housed samurai and still is now a hemp museum in Japan. Ironically, and this is true hemp history. Yesterday, June 10th, 275 years ago, Ben Franklin, when he was doing his kite experiment, I just talked about this on the show, when he was doing his kite experiment to prove electricity was in the lightning, the string that he used to tie his kite to his jar, or to the key, it was a key, whatever it was made out of hemp. All right? And what he did was he observed the hairs on the hemp rope rise when the lightning came through. All right? I always wondered how he did this, but he was so close to a storm that it wasn't raining hard enough to bring the kite down, but enough to pick up the electricity in the air from the lightning. Watching the hemp string is how Ben Franklin figured out there was electricity in the air. And, from Thomas Jefferson illegally smuggling tons of hemp seed through Britain from Russia, to the Civil War battle of the hemp bales, up to the World War II Hemp for Victory incentive. After the government made hemp illegal in 1937, they came along, and there was a famous documentary you watch on YouTube, Hemp for Victory. Henry Ford's hemp car, made out of hemp, ran on hemp. Um, the history of hemp in America is huge. It's an amazing amount of history. And guess what? It's only since the Europeans got here. Hemp is not indigenous to the Americas. The Europeans brought hemp here. All of America's hemp history, and it's endless from the time they got here to now, is quite amazing because it's only 300-400 years old. The sails that brought Columbus here were made out of hemp, or America Vespucci, or probably the Vikings. We know that the Vikings were using hemp sails and hemp clothing. So if the Vikings discovered America, the Americas, it was still hemp that got them here. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And again, this, and it's not a disclaimer, it's part of the history. Hemp was not great to the indigenous people, and it wasn't great to the enslaved people. But it's a huge part of the discovery of Americas and the overtaking of Americas. Right? The conquering. Europeans did not discover the Americas. Okay? The Native Americans did not call them the Americas before the Europeans got here. Okay? They conquered the Americas. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's the history of the world. Recent history, first hempcrete house built in France in the 80s. Here in the United States, the first hempcrete house was built in the early 2000s. In the 90s, you saw a lot of German automakers using hemp composites in their vehicles, which has grown immensely. And then, of course, we had the Hemp Industries Association having to sue the DEA, which was all over whether we could have hemp food on the shelf. One of the most nutritionally valuable grains, vegan, vegetative, whatever, foods on the planet. And the DEA was trying to wipe them off the shelves at Whole Foods and any grocery stores. And we sued and we successfully won and created what's called the Hemp Source Law, which the judge, Supreme Court, or the high judge said, if it comes from hemp, it's hemp, no matter what it is. And if it comes from marijuana, it's marijuana, no matter what it is. So if you make a pair of jeans from a marijuana plant, it should technically still be called marijuana. All right. And that's the law now. That's why all these states that are trying to change the definition of industrial hemp usually don't succeed. Okay, because the government has now defined what hemp is. We're making hemp history right now. The growing industry, pun intended, is at its infancy for the first time again in its 10,000-year-old history. And it's all because of prohibition. When they made marijuana illegal, the Marijuana Tax Act, they made cannabis illegal through the Marijuana Tax Act, which made hemp illegal, which never should have happened. It's crazy how much of a hemp industry we had, and all of a sudden our farmers couldn't grow it anymore. And now we are at the true rebirth of cannabis. And if it goes the right direction, we'll save the planet. We'll have better products rivaling millions of products that are out there now. Honestly, Jack Herring once said, 50,000 hemp has 50,000 byproducts. I think that's a minimum. That's a minimum when you consider all of the hemp products. Just in the 300 episodes, we've seen so much, from graphene to, computer parts, siding. There's just so much being made out of hemp now, and we have so much further to go. That's why, I can't preach it enough. There are an endless amount of roads to go down for hemp products. Plasticware. Now you've seen hemp straws. We have hemp plasticware or composites, spoons, forks, knives. Changing all food containers to either a recyclable paper or a compostable hemp plastic. Let it go to the landfill still. For once, the landfills can actually get smaller over time, because once they collect all this hemp and then it breaks down, it will actually compress. You want to make your mountain of garbage smaller, encourage the making of all things out of hemp. Anything disposable. Hopefully 100 years from now, the history of hemp will be like, can you imagine a world without all these products we make out of hemp and what the planet would look like? No more drilling for oil. No more cutting wood. Again, and again, I'm not trying to put any industries out of business. I very rarely talk badly about anybody that would consider themselves competition for this. All I encourage them to do is make the change for the right reasons. For the right reasons. You're not going to give your customers an inferior product. If anything, it will be superior, if not just equal to. But I guarantee it'll be more eco-friendly. At the very least. So there you have it, folks. Thanks, everybody, for watching the High Noon Hemp Show. Happy Hemp History Week. Check out our stuff on eBay. Get yourself some hemp. Nothing like buying yourself a little hemp for Hemp History Week. So check out ERBSONOFMA, Herb Sonoma, on eBay. I've also added Hemptations in the title of most of my auctions these days. I think there's still some that don't, but you can at least find me, and then you can look at user or sellers' other items. Come in, check out the largest inventory of hemp, the largest selection of hemp. Not maybe the largest inventory, but the largest selection of hemp on the planet at Hemptations. And remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having Hemptations.
See y'all next week.
Peace.